I think we're going to go ahead and kick off our second community meeting. Actually, third community meeting. We have Councilman Worldwide in the audience with us tonight. So, everybody else can kind of introduce yourself and come up to Al and Mark as they want. And I'm Bob Stanford. I'm the Economic Development Director. I'm substituting in for Councilman Shank. He has pneumonia. And so you guys know I did that the last time, and I'll be doing that tonight. It's kind of moderated, and we've got Jefferson Energy. Councilman, this is the CEO of Jefferson Energy.
Yes, we did.
So we've got everybody from the top down, and we're proud to have them here. We're excited about the project. They said they have 50 people out there, 50 construction workers. So that's exciting. And I'll turn it over to Mark Viator to Jefferson.
Thank you for coming tonight. I'm Mark Viator. I'm basically a consultant to Jefferson. I help them, assist them with public affairs and government affairs as well. And so what I'd like to do is just go around the room and have you introduce yourself, and then we're going to ask you to help us to know some of the questions you might have about the project.
I'm Councilman Burfine, Ward 6, and I'll ask my question at the end if that's all right.
Sure. Okay.
Hi, I'm Karen Stubblefield. I'm with the local workforce board, and I'm excited to be here and learn about the jobs you're going to be offering.
I'm Ben Moore with Moore Building Associates in Lufkin, and I'm a developer and owner of Lufkin Creekside Apartments.
Okay.
I'm Andrew Branch, pastor of Outlaws House of Faith Ministries located here in Lufkin. I'm president of Innovative Homes of DP Texas Incorporated.
Innovative what?
Innovative Homes of DPC Texas Incorporated.
Great.
And I will get on the first presentation, so I don't have any questions.
Okay. Good. Appreciate you coming back.
Thank you.
Stephen Pink, need serving at New Beginning Baptist Church. I was at the first meeting, very impressed, and so I just come back and show support in this meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Pastor.
Earl Whitaker, pastor of New Life Church. Just here to get information.
All right. Ronnie?
Ronnie Young, president of Allegiant Industrial, with a contractor on the job.
I'm Ed German. I'm with Jefferson Enterprise, head up the corporate and commercial development.
Mickey Kennedy, Jefferson Enterprise Technical Specialist.
Dick Rathford, I'm with Hilltop Securities. I'm the investment banker for Mr. Salazar.
And I'm Al Salazar, and founder of the company. Let me just say, and I'm going to take this off, unless you don't want me to, but because I think we're sufficiently separated that I can do that. Let me just say a few words about Mark. Mark is a little modest when he says he's one of our consultants. I met Mark, my gosh, Mark, it's probably been 11, 12 years.
2008?
Yeah, 2008, to be exact. But he's been with me since as an employee, and now as a consultant. He was with us at the Jefferson Terminal, a terminal that we built in Beaumont. It was a greenfield site, just totally nothing there. In fact, it was a little swamp when we started out. We started out with a little less than 10 acres and grew that site to about 600 acres. I think at one point in time we had a little over 1,000 boots on the ground, contractors, employees, all the kind of help that we needed. Quite frankly, I see the same vision here. I see us growing beyond, expanding from what you've seen, and we'll be having these kind of meetings often as we start to grow. I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of plans for this project. It's going to be an anchor in a lot of the renewable and green projects that we're doing throughout the country. And this is going to be a huge feeder as well as a supporter of all of those projects. So We're gonna have probably somewhere in the range of a couple hundred people here working. Those are direct, full-time equivalents, but it's gonna be part of a much larger support system in Beaumont, in Florida, and in other parts of the country where we have facilities. So it's going to be part of a family of several thousand people, let's just say. So I'm very excited about doing this. We're going to make an investment in this community to begin with, probably a little in excess of $200 million, which is a good investment, good size for our company. And I'm really excited about being here. I got to tell you honestly that we've been received very warmly. We've been encouraged to be here, which I think is the most important thing, because being a corporate citizen to you is really a two-way street for me. We want to be a part of this thing, part of this community, and I encourage, because we have a lot of talent. You can just look around the room and see, the extent of our talent. But I want that same talent, those same executives, to participate in the community, to be a part of Lufkin, to be a part of what you do, to be involved in community relations, community affairs, maybe even be part of the leadership in some form or fashion. So again, I encourage them to do that. Take whatever time is necessary to be supportive of the community and be involved. So, and anyway, I just wanted to make an introduction like that, and then turn it over to the professionals and let them tell you what we're going to do here. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. We had a couple more people to introduce themselves. Sir?
My name is Paul Jackson. I'm just a local resident here.
Okay, thank you. And then, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Jess Health. I'm with the Lufkin Daily News. Nice to meet you all.
Okay. Here's what we'd like to do. We'd like to start by, we'd like to listen to you first before we share our presentation. So what are some of the things that you would like to hear? Some of the things you'd like for us to cover tonight, and so that we can answer. Councilman, you have any?
I have a couple of things.
Okay.
I'm here because I'm worried about the tax abatement.
You worried about the tax rate?
Yeah, that's my number one thing.
Okay.
Should you get the tax abatement or not?
Okay.
The other thing I want to talk about is they built the power plant in 2001, and it was operational for a year.
Right.
Now you're going to come in, you're going to add a pulpwood mill and some kind of chemical, something also.
Okay.
I assume that that's necessary now to meet federal and state guidelines to recover the hazardous material or whatever. So should that not have been built in 2001, or is this new stuff that's come along later? So maybe you can kind of address that.
We sure will. We'll cover that. What I want to do is I want to try to get the questions from the audience, and then we'll make sure that we cover those, and before we leave, we'll answer those. Who else?
So our obviously, I think we're your closest neighbor.
Okay. And again, you're with the...
I'm Ben Moore with Lufkin Creekside.
Right.
And we have roughly, probably the most number of residents right next door to your property. So
How many is that, sir?
Obviously.
How many is that?
We want to welcome, economic development and see our community grow. We want to be a part of that. Obviously, we have concerns about our residents and.
Right. How many residents do you have there?
We have 132, I believe.
Okay.
So, we met with Mr. Gurman, and like what we heard. Everything sounds good to us. Our biggest concern is noise and probably odor pollution more than anything.
Okay. We will cover that tomorrow.
We're pretty familiar with what you've got as far as running the plant, running the steam generator and all of that. We're a little
thoughts? What would you like to see covered tonight?
Oh, just talk about the types of, skilled workers you're gonna need and how many.
Okay. How you doing, sir? Yes, you.
How are you?
Tell me your name.
Mark Moran, I'm the Executive Director for Workforce Solutions.
Okay, great. Appreciate you being
Here
here
and I work
tonight.
together.
And your questions are the same as,
All right, we just want to hear, maybe start out, meet people, things like that, just
Okay.
be on the craft, we need to start.
thank you for coming. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I've had a couple of different readers express concerns about the environmental safety of some of the products that you're planning on producing. And I'd like you guys to be able to address, what safety precautions you'll have in place for ensuring that there won't be any pollution, especially the San Rayburn. I know that it's not right in the district, it's right in your area, but people are concerned.
Sounds great. We'll cover
What
that.
was her question? I couldn't.
About the environmental, she has some readers that have, some questions about the environmental issues.
Oh, okay.
Of noise or sound and,
Okay.
chemicals. Okay, thank you. Who else? Pastor, you have any? No. Would you like to say a word related to you two pastors being in the pastors meeting last time and, the questions that had, were they covered?
Yes, they were.
Okay. All right. Okay, Pastor, do you have any thoughts?
I was basically what you was asking about the environmental thing
Environmental?
and employment.
Okay. We'll be glad to cover those.
I
Okay.
just want to stress how important it is that, and you did hit on it, you did talk about it, the other night, that, your team reach out, make a concerted effort to reach out to the individuals who live in that community.
Right.
They may be able to benefit from the jobs, that you're gonna create.
I agree.
So I just want to say that again, so you know that that's really important.
And you stressed last time was how important it was for us to, in fact, I think you asked a question about us meeting with the community, and we'd already met once, and we're meeting the second time with pastors, this is our third meeting, but how important it is for us to continue to meet with the community and have that dialogue. In fact, I think I said it this way: many times corporations don't have trust because they don't have relationship. Many times they don't have relationship because they don't have communication. And they don't have communication because there's not intentionality of seeking to make that connection with the, I call them stakeholders. We have many stakeholders, the city stakeholders, our fence line community stakeholders, as well as, we have state and federal agencies that are stakeholders as well. We consider our employees stakeholders. And so, our goal is to find out what our stakeholders, what their opinions or questions are, and seek to answer that and communicate. Any other things? Okay, one of the things I'd like to say, Al said that we've been together a long time, and we'll cover it in the presentation, but one of the things I can tell you is that community is important to him, and being the Director of Public and Government Affairs for Mr. Salazar for a number of years, he keeps his word. That whatever he tells you, he makes sure his organization is permeated throughout the organization. I just want to say that. I want to introduce you to Mickey Kennedy. Mickey is going to give you the presentation, and I'll jump in, and maybe Ronnie and Eddie may jump in as well. But Mickey, it's all yours.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's good to see the people that came again this week that we saw last week, so thank you again for coming this week. So I get a little bit fired up and carried away when I talk about this project. This is one of my favorite under the Jefferson Enterprise umbrella. And did I just?
I was gonna say, I don't know if they can hear you. No, your voice.
Oh, can y'all hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So this is one of my favorite projects under the Jefferson Enterprise umbrella. Al actually has several renewable projects all across the nation. And this one is a different project from said, well, Al, I don't think any of those are in the United States. And he said, you're right, we're going to India. So 13 and a half hours later, we go to India, and
It's on, I'm just talking to it. Just talk.
hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
So now you can really hear my voice shake when I'm nervous. Okay. Okay, so we end up going to India, and India is home to over 15 agro-based pulp mills. In India, they don't have a lot of the forestry industry as we do in the United States, so they have to make their paper and their paper products out of a different type of fiber, and that fiber is residual agricultural fiber, either the bagasse from sugarcane processing, or wheat straw, or rice husk, and things of that nature. And so over the past 50 to 60 years, India has perfected this technology of converting waste agricultural residues into a fiber that can be made into writing paper. It can be made into molded fiber products like paper plates and things of that nature. Now, the difference between what an agro pulp mill makes and what a typical conventional wood pulp mill makes is that the agro pulp fiber is completely renewable, it is biodegradable, it is compostable. So in order to make this type of fiber and be an environmentally friendly process, you can't have harmful chemicals. Does that make sense? Because otherwise it wouldn't be biodegradable, it wouldn't be compostable. And so whenever you think of a renewable fiber process, it's a completely different process chemistry than a conventional wood pulp mill. Okay? So I was excited to go to India. We actually traversed the entire country of India looking at these agro pulp mills. And I learned so much about the process chemistry, and about why this idea, this vision is going to be successful in Lufkin, Texas. And Lufkin has an opportunity to be the biggest renewable fiber production facility in North America, which is huge because there is a big demand for renewable fiber right now, a huge market for it. Okay, so to speak to your question, Mr. Moore, about the proximity of the pulp mill to your residence, when we were in India, the workers actually stay at the site. And their camps are literally right next to the pulp mill. Now, one of the big differences between an agro pulp mill and a wood-based pulp mill is that an agro pulp mill, there's no odor. There's no sulfide gas, there's no odor. And so you have an odorless process. Again, you're using chemicals that don't cause harm to the environment, and you're creating basically a renewable product. So, and Al, do you remember that? Yep. Okay. So, and to get started with the presentation, that was just some background on the development of the project. So the presentation, basically this first slide is a project snapshot. This renewable fiber process is going to be a world-class operation, and what I mean by world-class is that we contracted EPC contractors that are the best in the world. We have Enmass doing the boiler operations, and we have Simagro doing the pulp mill operation. So if you were to Google those two companies, you would see that they have reputations around the world for agro pulp mills, and they are highly successful. The second one is market dominance because of the size, the capacity, the processing capacity of the Lufkin pulp mill. We don't expect any competition, and we know that we can, like Al said, we know that we can actually build upon the anchor here at Lufkin. 400 metric ton per day pulp production capability, which is about 146,000 air dry metric tons per year. So it's a pretty good size mill. The advantage location, we're actually using the existing asset, which is the power plant, which makes this facility advantageous. And we have feedstock. Okay, yeah. So Eddie can talk more about this, but we actually contracted our feedstock with Novus Wood Group. That was a concern last week, was the feedstock and how we're going to acquire feedstock. So we've made long-term contracts with Novus Wood Group for the wood chips, and then we also have the bagasse from the sugarcane processing companies, and we have hemp fiber residuals. So we don't expect any feedstock shortages. Next slide. One of the things that I want to talk about real quick before I go on to the next slide is that the agro pulp mill has lower emissions, lower reagent use, and can produce a secondary product. So instead of having a waste stream, like a black liquor waste that's created at conventional pulp mills, we actually take that stream and make it into a sellable secondary product. So I think that was your question. And that product's actually a sodium carbonate, and it's a powder. And it's used in the glass manufacturing industry. There's nothing at our site that is hazardous by RCRA.
Can everyone hear Mickey okay? Or everybody's good?
Let me just add a little bit to that. Because these are really good questions, actually. Pretty important questions. You know, why here? Why this power plant? You know, why do we think we're going to be successful with this power plant when the other one failed? Okay, I mean, that's a core question, right? That's really what you're asking me. Why do you think we're going to be successful when the other one failed, right? So let me address that. There are two different business models, totally different. The first one was which I think, you know, is a good business model, not one that I would pursue because, frankly, while it has some good basic ingredients, it doesn't get you all the way home. Okay, they had intended to sell to the grid, and they were intended to be a power plant, 55 megawatts, which is a large power plant, and they were going to sell to the grid, and their business model, as I read it, was really intended to make the most of their money during peak power, during the times when, you know, the schools are coming back up, other industries coming back up, and there's a shortage of power in the marketplace. And you can make money doing that. We're not selling power to anybody. What we're building here is a huge consumer of power. And the fact that we have 55 megawatts and the fact that we were able to buy it deeply discounted, unfortunate to the other group, but fortunate to us and fortunate to the community because we can make something that failed before work today. So I found this power plant, I looked at it, brought the professionals in and tell me what the status and the condition of the equipment might be. Because I didn't want to come in and buy something that I was going to have to basically rebuild all over again. I'd rather go and build a new one, which we're doing, by the way, in Florida. So in any event, that was an advantage to the entry point. Because here, you know, we bought at a deep discount a idle facility that's going to provide us all the power that we need to build our facility. And we are a high consumer. So rather than being faced with a cost for industry power, with a cost of anywhere from 8 to 10 cents a kilowatt, we're less than that. We're probably somewhere in the range of, you know, under 3 cents a kilowatt at this facility. So a huge advantage to our bottom line. So which means then that I can put more money, or we can put more money into other parts of the project, which lessens the burden on those projects and further enhances the opportunity for success. That's what abatement's all about. Abatement is to lessen the tax burden in the beginning to allow more money to go into the capital construction of the project. Again, making the project more likely to be successful. However, in the meantime, by doing that, you bring in more employment, you bring in more bodies, more people, skilled labor into the asset. And hopefully, the idea in tax abatement, and I didn't invent it, it was, it's something that's it's age old and goes way back to the 50s when these kind of bonds were introduced and when abatement was introduced. But the idea was that we would come in, we bring in a lot of labor during the construction, they spend a lot of money in the community, you bring a lot of employees in, they're part of the community, they live in the community hopefully, they're from the community to begin with, and the employment base goes up, economic driven, and then at some point along the way, after the project's built and the project is successful, it comes back on the tax rolls. And then you get the benefit of a sustained project that has every opportunity to be long life and long producing. That's the answer to your question. Mickey touched a little bit on the environmental, right? I didn't want to be a part of anything that's of environmental consequence. That's why I grabbed Mickey and said, let's go to India, because they do have 40 to 50 years of history in building these projects. So we engaged a couple of engineering firms to take us around and to show us a couple of projects that they had built and had been operating for 50 years. I wanted firsthand, one, to smell them. Number two, see how they dealt with their wastewater that they generated. And three, to basically see the chemistry that's associated with processing what I wanted to build here. We are not building a pulp plant, a paper plant. We're building a renewable fiber plant. There's a distinction there. We are taking waste products. You grow sugar cane. In Florida, what do with the stalk? They burn it. Or they plow it back into the fields, right? Same thing with wheat stalk. They take the stalk. Same thing with rice. They take the husks. So what we're doing is we're taking those same waste products and we're bringing them into our facility and we're converting them to a wet lap, a material that then is used in paper making. And that goes somewhere else. Those facilities are already established. They've been embraced by their communities, but it's not what we want to do. We have no sulfur, so we don't have that smell, and we consume all our water. We're building a water and wastewater treatment plant on site, so the water that we don't use as makeup water or water that we don't use in our industry, we process, we clean it up, and it's better than the stream water that's in the stream to begin with. Zero discharge, as Mickey calls it. So, in any event, that's what we're doing here. One of the things that is required in building what we're building is bleach, essentially to bleach out the paper, make it a lot whiter, because some consumers want that kind of tissue or that kind of paper or that kind of paper product. So we're building a sodium chloride plant. Basically, that's bleach. And we use that. Again, we're a high consumer of that. And so decided that we would, rather than go out and purchase it, we would build a plant right on site and make our own. More employees, a little greater investment for us, but at the end of the day, offset by the fact that we are feeder to our own system. We save money that way. So that's what we're doing here. Now, I have an additional vision, and I'll share it with you tonight. I don't know that you got it last time. Rather than take the wet lap and sell it to some paper company that is going to make paper or tissue or whatever it is, napkins or whatever, I would like to develop an end product, and using a very sophisticated program of robotics, food grade facilities, by the way, and those, again, when you talk about environment, you talk about chemicals, you talk about pollution, you talk about all those things, these are going to be food grade facilities, okay? So none of the other stuff that you were asking about. But at the end of the day, I want to transition into making our own paper products. And to that extent, I can't tell you who it is right now because we've got confidentiality. But we have, but they deliver to your house every day, right? So, so if you can take it from there. So we have ventured with them in a partnership, and we're going to start building these machines, these robotics, after we build the other. But we are doing another facility in the meantime, which will then grow and be consolidated into this facility, which is going to add an additional several hundred jobs, you know, more square footage, more area under roof, but again, all food grade. And we're going to be making things like, you know, cups for Starbucks, but you don't need the little sleeve to keep your hand from burning because they're going to be different kind of products. We're going to be, you know, making different things for the hamburger places, rather than little styrofoam plastic, what they call clamshells that they put your hamburger in. We're going to be making those from renewable products, paper products. So it's going to be a disruptor to the plastic industry. So my vision here is not just to build a pulp plant from renewable, as opposed to taking down trees and using virgin material. I want to consume that which is being discarded by others. Do it on an environmentally clean basis, and then develop a product that's a disruptor to the plastic industry. Because the last thing we need is more plastic going into the ocean, plastic and styrofoam. So at the end of the day, that's what we're going to be a part of. And hopefully, you know, this will be, Lufkin will be known for what we're doing here in the future. And it's not that far away. All of these wheels are in motion. At the end of the day, a couple of 300 robotic machines at a cost of between $1 million and $2 million each. So you can see stage 2, the investment that we're going to be making, somewhere between $300 to $600 million in this food grade upgrade that we're adding to this pulp plant. There's my vision. That's what I want to do. Okay? Environmentally right, clean, no pollution, very little noise. Okay? The noise that you're going to hear is the blowdown on the boiler. And that happens a couple of years when we go in and have to clean out the residue that collects in those boilers. But the rest of the time, you're looking at a decibel reading, which is about probably a lot less than a hair dryer. Okay? So you can begin to see very limited noise. We started out with 41 acres. We bought 13 acres between us and you, your property. And the reason I bought the 13 acres is because I wanted to establish, and I think Eddie's talked to you about this, I wanted to establish a really good zone between us. And we'll plant a lot of trees and make it aesthetically right for our neighbors. So clean, environmentally right, no discharge, limited noise, no smell. That's my commitment to you.
How your vision for the robotics phase 2 would be in Lufkin as well, because of the transportation ease?
gonna be in 3 locations. We're building a sister plant to this one in Florida. And we'll put, 300-400 machines there, whatever the market requires to meet that demand. And that's your East Coast. Central America, Mid-America, this is gonna be between here and Beaumont. We'll start out in Beaumont as kind of our demonstration feeder, but then we don't have, I don't want it to be in Beaumont, I want it to be here, okay? So we'll transition from there to here, and then Beaumont, where we have 500,000 square feet of roof, or space under roof, will become a transload center, the Walmart, Ace Hardware models, where you store all your materials in the trucks and the trains and on the water, because we're on the water, takes it away to its final destination. So those will be reload transfer stations. That's what I want Beaumont to be. Here is where I want to make it. So you got the East Coast, you got Middle America, and now I'm on the hunt for a location to serve the West Coast.
So one thing of note that, Lufkin has a very distinct honor of being a foreign trade zone. We're one of only 300 in the United States of America. Very, very prestigious that we will receive that, and you might want to take that into consideration as you start looking at foreign markets out of the Port of Beaumont, Port of Houston, Port of Corpus. So that's
Believe me,
an exciting vision.
Believe me, I'm on top of that already. Good. Okay, I know that, and that's again like the power plant, like the support from the community, which I take very, very dearly. The fact that there's potential for abatement and a vision from a community to say, look, we're not going to be responsible for hundreds of $millions of debt, but we're going to support it as much as we can to make sure that it comes here, doesn't go somewhere else, and that you build and have every opportunity to make a success for that vision that you've chosen our committee to be a part of. So, but believe me, I know that we have that opportunity. We'll talk about it.
I think an important point on the tax abatement is we're not requesting or asking for any abatement on the power plant itself. That's an existing structure. The only abatement that we're looking for or we're requesting of the city is on brand new built, new construction, new infrastructure, et cetera.
Quick question on that power plant. You're gonna use rice, sugarcane, and wheat byproduct from the mill. What's gonna power the power plant?
Power plant is what powered it before. The wood waste from the sawmills that you have around here. Another reason why we're here. Okay? And some of the, we depith everything that comes in from the sorghum or from the bagasse. So we use that material as well because that's got a high BTU content.
I'm concerned because sugarcane, when it burns, it stinks something off.
Sugarcane?
Sugarcane, when you burn it stinks.
No, it's not gonna burn that way. It's not an open pit, okay? What you do is you bring in the bagasse. The first thing you do is you wash it, okay? When you wash it, you put it through a clarifier and you clean it up and and then it goes through a depithing process, and then it goes again into another clarifier and it gets cleaned again, and then it goes into an enclosed oven system. It doesn't burn, it doesn't ignite and emit smoke the way you might know it.
One of the concerns that was brought up was the feed for the power plant itself. Of course, there's 2 feeds, one for the renewable fiber plant and then the feed to run the power plant. We have engaged Novus Wood Group, who's one of the largest, if not the largest in the Southwest, agricultural waste and woody waste aggregators. They're responsible for working with the different mills, the different collection facilities, etc., getting that feedstock to be the right size, the right quality, the consistency, and delivered on time, on a timely basis. And that's something that the previous plant did not have. They were kind of grabbing from here and there, etc., and they ran into some problems. So that's one way that we're going to mitigate some of the issues that the other plant had.
Yep. And then, of course, the workforce. Okay, like I said earlier, we have 50 people out there growing today, okay? I probably see a couple of hundred laborers out there as we start going and growing, maybe even more. We also see a couple of hundred jobs, full-time equivalent jobs out there and growing.
And what we're committing to for the tax abatement, though, committing to 200 construction jobs and 100 full-time positions. Because what we put in the tax abatement, we believe in under-promising and over-delivering. That's one of the things Al's always done.
We told Beaumont that we would probably have about 300 jobs, construction jobs. We wound up with a little over 1,000 construction jobs. And at the end of the day, you know, and it's still there. I mean, we started building that thing in 2010, and they're still building. So the construction jobs have never gone away. And I mean, they're still adding pipelines and still growing. And there's going to be more crude by rail coming into the area since some of the pipelines are being discontinued. So we'll see some more of that, which is good for the area here. But nonetheless, you know, that continues to grow and it continues to expand. The terminal I'm very proud of that we started from scratch. It really a swamp. We recovered the land. Is now probably one of the premier terminals in the world. With a value, we started out with a $30 million value. That facility is now worth, you know, $1.5 billion and growing. So yeah, very proud of that, and have shared some successes with this part of Texas. I'm a Texan. I grew up in Texas. I grew up in the hill country. I left when I was 17 to go off to school, and really never came back until 2005, and decided that I wanted to come back here, and I wanted to get into an industry that you know that was challenging and had high entry barriers, or high barriers to entry. So I chose the midstream side of the petroleum business. But then I've decided that, you know, I want to go beyond that. I want to challenge. I want to challenge industry by doing renewables. We have a biomass facility in Kentucky where we're making fuel from soybean oil, and we take that soybean oil and we mix it with a refinery that we have a relationship with in Indiana, and we make a biofuel, biodiesel. Okay. Now that's great, but I want to go one step farther. I want a fully renewable facility, and we're looking at a couple of refineries in Oregon and California, that part of the country, whereby we would take fat, oil, and grease that is otherwise a problem for communities, right, in your sewage treatment plants, and coalesce that, capture that, and turn it into a renewable fuel that is not petroleum based. It's discarded fats, oil, and grease. We are a green company. We're a renewable source company. And that's what this community, or Lufkin, is all a part of. So let me just, I hate to interrupt Mickey, but, because I'm already...
Before you go on, you can tell Al is a visionary. When he talked about doing crude by rail, of Canada crude coming down to the Gulf Coast where it's needed, where the XL pipeline is coming to Houston and to Port Arthur. And our terminal was in Beaumont and had Beaumont, Port Arthur area that had like right at 1.9 million barrels of crude processed per day. But Al had that vision of crude by rail before anyone else did. And that's when we got the facility for Port of Beaumont and built a facility with over 25 miles of track inside 243 acres with deep port, and it has over 5 million barrels of storage capacity today. And so when he tells you his vision too, he's just a visionary, it's the bottom line. And so he sees it before anybody else can see it. And Jefferson Energy Terminal, if you want to go online and see what he built there, go to jeffersonenergyco.com and you can see the facility.
It's hard to follow Al. She talks so well. But I get too nervous using that, so hopefully everybody can hear me.
You need it.
Okay.
Promise.
So, the next slide. I want to touch on the third box at the end, all the way to the right. Safety is the cornerstone.
They can't hear you.
So y'all really can't hear me?
Pull your mask down. You feel better.
Yeah, just use your, you don't need the mask up there, you're fine.
Okay. So safety is the cornerstone of all of Jefferson Enterprises operations. Can y'all hear me? No. Yes?
Turn it on.
Can you hear me now?
Now.
Hello? Okay. So, a little bit about the safety. The new operations and even the existing power plant operation is going to be equipped with the latest in instrumentation and controls technology. And so by that I mean programmable logics controls, which is the PLC network. The advantage of being a greenfield operation is that you can install state-of-the-art instrumentation and controls that basically prevent man-made errors, prevent emission releases, and can basically monitor all aspects of the process so that the process operates totally in control and is completely safe. The entire refinery process from end to end is going to be equipped with the latest instrumentation and control, so I just wanted to make that point. The second bullet is employees, which Al did a good job talking about. The third one is the community. We plan to engage the community, and Mark is going to say.
Yeah, I just think it's important to, we talk, I mean, I think I've already said that we just want to, we care about safety, we care about our employees, we care about the community, and we want to make sure we engage the community and have relationship and communication.
And touching on what Mark just said, the next slide, basically we plan on hiring 100 full-time employees for the operation and over 200 full-time employees for the construction project itself. JRF does support local vendors, and we look to those guys first to supply us with materials. This is my favorite part. It's the process. So like I said earlier, we're going to take residual agricultural residues in the gas from the sugar mill industry and process it into a renewable pulp fiber, one that's compostable, that's biodegradable, and environmentally friendly. And so like I said, it's on a shell product that's on the bottom right-hand side there, and that is a food-grade material. The fiber is equivalent in quality to wood pulp, but it's a renewable fiber. So you're not compromising any quality with making this fiber from agricultural residues. One of the benefits of the renewable fiber process is that it takes less energy, it takes less chemicals, and so you're already adding economic advantage to competitor wood pulp mills. Again, the renewable fiber that's created by JRF is compostable, biodegradable, and environmentally friendly.
Go back, Nikki, to the other slide. You know, we'll start out importing the feedstock. We'll import the sugar cane. We're in a very close location to high production sugar cane. And some of the other materials that we'll use in the coconut. But just dream with me for a little bit, right? What if I had 200,000 to 400,000 acres under our management that I could then grow our own gas? The gas that with our sugar cane that is as tall as that, and it grows that high twice a year. So you have a basically are building a forest, okay? And we're cultivating that. We could actually sell the sugar cane to the mills, but then we would be producing our own stock. Okay? And that could be several 100,000 acres under our management or our control. And we would be growing in the surrounding areas. And that's one of the other important things, Southeast Texas. You know, between here, between Beaumont, let's say, and Winnie, and then into Louisiana, you have a huge abundance of farmland. So let's put those farms back to work, doing what I see as doing feed our own system. Yes.
Just curious, where do you think initially, or how do you think you would transport the sugar cane to your location initially?
Two ways, actually 3 ways. You know, if you come into the Port of Beaumont, to our facility, you know, we have roughly 90 acres there, we have 5 docks. Not at the terminal, but at our other facility. Veracruz area in Mexico is a very large producer of sugar. Okay? By bar, ocean bar, comes out okay? Louisiana is the second largest producer of sugar cane. Only second to Florida, but not by a whole lot. That's another. That can come to us either directly by water into the port, or it can come directly to us by truck and or by rail. All of those facilities are available in the port. Now that's high cost, okay? And when you run the economic model, while it still works very, very handsomely, still very rich, you know, that's an area as we grow that we can add to the bottom line. And that's where those several 100,000 acres of cultivation farmland under our cultivation, our control, support our facility. For the first train, the train is a processing, not a train, a processing station. For the first train, which is what we're building today, and hopefully maybe build 1 or 2 more trains, it'll just help us as we grow.
Do you think you'll be able to bring sugarcane in on rail possibly?
We could. We could. And the hopper park.
How many trucks a day do you think? I don't know how much sugarcane you can put on say a semi, but how many trucks a day do you think you'd need to power?
Initially, probably 45 to 65.
Yeah, and his figure, he got that from an engineering report, and his figure encompasses the whole product, the sodium carbonate product, the sugar cane.
Everything. It includes everything.
So what do they currently do? If I understand you correctly, people that farm sugarcane sell the sugarcane, you're taking what's left over, that's what you're utilizing. Is that used for anything else right now?
Yeah, in Florida, they actually plow them. They just plow the flowers, just burn. They don't use it. That's part of it.
It's no competition.
It's part of what I'm all about. Okay? Sure. I'm taking something that people are burning and throwing and smoking and that's good in the air, and I'm reusing it. Okay? Actually, I'll show you a secret. The gas is good. Probably the best. Second to hemp. Hemp is the best. And so, there's so many properties and so many things that are developing with hemp as a product. And, we're studying that in a big way. We've sent, samples after samples after itself, because it's straight along highway, it lends itself to being part of the disruption to the class concept.
And to add on to what Al's saying, the hemp fiber is competitive with the softwood fiber, where the gas fiber is competitive with the hardwood fiber. Both of those will sell at premium because of the renewable product and renewable advantage. To get into the next slide, world-class renewable fiber operation. First of all, this renewable fiber facility is going to be built for sustainability. So from end to end, we're making sure that the operations are environmentally friendly, we're making sure that they are safe, and we're making sure that they are consistently ran. So on a 24/7, 360 day per year basis. And what that does is it prohibits the up and down, as y'all experienced historically with the power plants and the loud noises and whatnot. Because the operation was constantly starting up, then it would cool down, then it started up again. And then that calls for a lot of operational inefficiencies and a lot of extra costs being incurred and just not a good business model. Next slide, the noise abatement. So JRF is putting in a lot of controls, instrumentation, and technology to limit the amount of noise that's going to be at the facility. Inside equipment, air conditioning equipment, and hoods on all the compressors, that's air compressors and the screw compressors. The only odor that we would expect is going to be a mild odor, and we're going to mitigate that odor with covers on the top of the tank. And unlike most conventional pulping processes that the odor comes from the pulping process itself, this would come from the wastewater treatment. So it's not going to be a bad odor. So going back to what we originally talked about, the agricole mill, the basis of design for the agricole mill, it's completely different than conventional wood pulp mills. So they do not be compared or put into the same bucket. One of the things that I wanted to talk about that Bix actually brought up was the sodium chlorate that Al talked about earlier, the chemical. That's actually a chemical that we can sell to market, and it's the demand is driven by the EPA for wood pulp mills. So wood pulp mills have to upgrade their processes to meet the new emissions requirements, and part of that upgrade is using better chemicals. The chemical that we're going to be making on site to supply our on-site operations is also in demand by wood pulp mills who have to upgrade because their permits are coming up and they need to make some changes.
You might mention how it's made.
It's
Yes.
okay. So the benefit of the sodium chlorate process being at JRF is because of the power plant itself. It's an electrolytic process. So basically, through an electrolytic reaction, kind of like a battery, we're going to be taking water and react, or brine actually, and reacting that to make the sodium chlorate.
Which is what?
The bleach that I was talking about. And again, this is a reagent that is in demand, that's in demand by wood pulp mills because of EPA regulations that are tightening right now.
The sodium chlorate plant is brine.
Are you converting the brine, or is it releasing the chloride as a chemical and then you're recovering the chemical?
Yeah, essentially what you do is a huge consumer of electricity, and hence the opportunity and advantage of the pulp of the power plant. Because you run electricity, you run current through the brine line. And the process, in that electrolysis process you're talking about, electrolysis process, you separate the salts from the water. The water continues on, we capture it, make up water. The salts, the water's all recyclable. But the salts become our agent for bleach repair.
When you do that, what I want to know, is it going to be a liquid or a gas at any point? Is there a risk of, say, an accident happens? Is there going to be a risk of chlorine gas getting spread through the
No, it's not going to form a chlorine. So it's a chlorine dioxide, which is chlorine bound with oxygen. So that's why it's an environmental process. It doesn't have near and I wrote in-house, and in collaboration with Ronnie's group there, Allegiant. After the detailed engineering is complete, we're gonna move into the civil engineering and site development. That's where you're gonna start to see some dirt moving on the ground, getting ready for all the different, process equipment to be installed on the site. And then the last one, of course, is the construction and commissioning phase, where we're actually tying in all of the equipment and starting it up, getting it ready for operation. So we expect to be in operation by 2023. So, does anybody have any questions? That's it. Thank you all so much.
Let me introduce Ronnie, if I could. Ronnie is kind of a secret weapon of ours. We have many, as you can tell, it's a pretty talented group. Ronnie Yon used to be with, he's got long experiences with Huntsman and companies of that ilk. But he was with a company by the name of STI, which was a contractor. And I hired STI to help me build the terminal. They were local. They were central to the whole area, Beaumont area. But really the reason that I hired STI was because Mark brought Ronnie to me. And this guy has been wonderful. He built that entire terminal. I can tell you right now that we had a contract with one of the majors, and we had to deliver on December 1. We had to deliver the ability to bring in a train from Canada and to unload it into a tank, multiple tanks, and to be able to ship it out subsequently by barge out of one of our docks. We actually didn't break ground until it was right at the beginning of April. Now, they went to work. They built the manifolds, they built the tanks, they added the rail, the unloading, 120 stations, unloading every single rail car at the same time. Put in all the infrastructure, all the underground piping, did all our utilities. They started in April. We didn't make the December 1 deadline. We weren't able to take that train until December 7th. That's what this guy did. That's what this guy did for us. And that's why he's not with STI any longer. He's with us. And he's the man that's going to be responsible for building this facility. Ron?
We're glad to be here. Be on my back here in a minute. And I can say that I was very fortunate to run into these guys, all these guys. But he does have the ability to see in the future, I think, sometimes. And we have to run very, very hard and get focused to stay with it. I'm excited about this project. We came down to get this boiler, to tear it down and look at moving it to Florida because we had a need for a boiler in Florida. We came down and looked at it and said, this is a beautiful site, and this equipment is in just fantastic shape. I think it had like 90 hours on the equipment total. So we started looking at that perspective, and now it starts dreaming. And so we went from moving a boiler to Florida to building this nice facility here. I'm especially excited about it because Rayburn is just right over there. and I'm a kind of a country boy too. I was raised up just an hour from here and spent every hour I could on Rayburn. So it checked every box for me. But I'm looking forward to the project. This is a very good timeline. We're in detailed engineering now. We have the power plant I think it's further down the road than Al realized. Even he's not seen it in a day or two, but very proud of where we are today. The equipment was even in better shape than I thought it was. The noise, somebody brought up the noise, I think, and Al's he's exactly right. The biggest thing is we're not gonna run for peaking power like the other guys, up and down, up and down, up and down. Our deal is get it up, balance the steam, the electrical loads, and we hope it never goes down until we come down for a turnaround, right? 2 years. We just want to run, and it's kind of like a plant. We're not making money on electricity. We got to get stuff out the pipeline to make money. So that's a good thing, and hopefully we can. We know we're looking at other areas around, and it's a very good place to build, and we're excited. So the boiler's really close to being able to start. We're in detailed engineering today. Been there for a while now. We will start probably detailed civil engineering in a few months, and then you will start seeing some things happen as we start grubbing. In third quarter, we'll start grubbing sooner than that and start clearing the site, and it'll start to look really nice. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll start moving into the civil, and it'll take off when the equipment's delivered. Our goal is to have all the foundations set, the site down, the equipment shows up, and we set it on the foundation, and we just do the interconnect piping and hook it up, and we're ready to go. So, looking forward to working the people in the area. There's, like I said, it's 200. We won't be 200 day one. It'll peak as we build and go. But Al understands we built a site in Kuntz, same type area, really good skilled labor. We don't want to pay per diem to haul people down from other areas to come here and work. We want to hire the people here, bring them on the job. It benefits us, it benefits the area. Maybe some of those guys and people roll into the other plant operations and things like that. And then we have maintenance people that stay behind to keep this thing running. So it's a full-time crew that's out here working every day. So again, we appreciate your time to come out and here, and we appreciate being here.
I do listen to these guys and listen carefully. When we were building our fabrication shop, which Ronnie is one of the founders along with me in that project. He convinced me that we ought to build in Kuntz. I came out to Kuntz and I said, Ronnie, what have we done? And he said, the labor is here. This is where the welders are. If they're not welding, they're in the lumber business. But the welders are here. So we found an old rundown shed, and we retrofitted it, and he added more building space to it, lay down yard, and now it's one of the better fabrication shops in the area, and growing. And so I do listen to these guys. One of the most recent additions to our team of a couple of years is Biggs. Biggs represents the public market side of Hilltop Securities. And I can tell you the way they package up these securities for us to sell to the market is pretty remarkable. I'll give you an example. We went out to market with a $50 million bond issue, and when the investors saw the assets, saw the way it was collateralized, the way it was packaged, we were oversubscribed almost $600 million on that. If I had had an opportunity to raise more money or had more allocation for the state, believe me, I would have taken every single dime. But we were limited to $50 million. But they ran the books on that, managed it, and they were oversubscribed.
And we found you a power plant, right?
Same thing with the power plant,
yeah. I was going to say, I found it for you.
He found this power plant for me. He actually called me and said, you're building a power plant in Florida, you're going to pay $70 million to build it. there's one here in Lupton in the backyard, let's take it to Florida. And that's what I did. I sent Ronnie out here and said, Ronnie, let's take this thing down and move it to Florida. I can buy it, fairly inexpensive. But he came back and said, the power plant shouldn't be moved. It's right where it belongs, right where it's at. What other, things do you have in mind? I said, fine. Forget about Florida. We'll bring it here and we'll do it here in Lubbock. And that's how that was the genesis of this whole rebirth. The power plant is the aim. It's what spools the rest of this
I don't need that out. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Is there any final questions? And I need to make a comment before we close the meeting. So I'm here tonight representing Councilman Shankle. The facility is in his ward, and it will, impact the people in his ward. And so we have asked Josh with Channel 15 tonight from the Lufkin TV station to record it so that Councilman Shankle can view the comments and the presentation and have a clear understanding of how it will impact his ward. So he's been under the weather. I spoke to him tonight. He's very engaged in the conversations that we're having. This is our third community meeting. And once again, I wanted to thank Al and his team. We've been really working closely with them on their project, and we're happy to have the opportunity to partner with these guys. One thing is the important is the possibility of future projects, Al. And I want to thank you on behalf of Lufkin Economic Development Department for considering Lufkin in that. I've been around the food products business, and that's a very great business and good jobs. So, Mark, I want to close it up.
Did we answer all of the questions? You did. Marquez, thank you for being here, sir. The mayor was here also, and we appreciated him coming. Were your questions answered?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yours? Sir?
You bet.
Okay. Pastor, you already had them. Pastor, were your questions answered? Okay. Well, we thank you for coming tonight, and we look forward to continuing to engage the community. We see you as stakeholders, and I'll be glad to give anyone my telephone number and email address if you'd like to contact or if you have any further questions. But thank you for coming. Feel free to speak to whoever you like when you leave.
Thank you, guys.
I won't be able to be at the city council meeting next week. I want to be here, but I have a conflict that I can't get out. So I look to all of you to lead us.
Yes, any of you that can go and support us as a council meeting next Tuesday would be appreciated.
Thank you so much.